How's it going, guys and girls? This is Versions of Us with a How to Arachne video. Arachne is great in lower to mid-level games and has amazing early pressure out of the jungle. This guide is updated for the 7.10 patch. If you're newer to the game, trying to learn how to easily jungle, or looking to learn Arachne, look no further. Let's get started. Okay, let's start with Arachne's best role. Arachne's really only played out of the jungle. She does amazing in the jungle. Before jumping into the builds and playstyles though, let's get into her basics. Arachne is primarily an auto attack assassin. Her passive is called Predator. Arachne's basic attacks gain 1.5% physical damage for every 5% of a target's missing health. This passive is great for 1v1 trades. Essentially, the lower health the target is, the more damage you do. Arachne's first ability is Venomous Bite. Arachne pops her 1 and her next basic attack within 5 seconds does damage and then heals Arachne over time. This does an initial burst damage to the target and then damage every 0.5 seconds for 3 seconds. It also heals Arachne 6 times over the 3 seconds, regardless of if the target dies in the initial tick. This ability reduces in cooldown to 11 seconds at max rank. As stated before, Arachne is primarily an auto attack god, so this is her main ability damage that she has. It is great for both jungle clear, sustain, and damage to enemy gods. The health swing it provides is also very nice when trying to box somebody. Arachne's second ability is titled Cocoon. This, like the first ability, is a stim. She can pop the 2, and for the next 6 seconds, her next 3 basic attacks have increased attack speed. Additionally, if all 3 of the basic attacks hit the same target, then the target is stunned. The attack speed and stun duration scale up as you level the ability. This ability should not be wasted on jungle camps. It has a long cooldown, 15 seconds, and is a great form of CC to lock down a target when ganking or fighting. Arachne's third ability is called Web. Arachne throws forward a web. On webs, she is immune to slows and moves faster. If the web reaches the max range, a web trap will spawn. Enemies that walk through webs are slowed by 15%, revealed to Arachne, and leave behind a trail of webs along with spiders that chase them, doing damage over time. Spiders are considered pets and can be killed, and they do damage based on the level of the ability. This is great for chasing or even to use as an escape for the slow immunity and movement speed. Arachne can only have up to 3 webs at a time. This ability is also an excellent form of initiation on a target. It lets you close the gap to get into basic attack range, and drops spiders that can block both a single target abilities as well as auto attacks, and it does damage. If your spiders aren't killed by the enemy, it is lethal. Her ultimate is Nightcrawler. Arachne flips upside down, gaining movement speed. She leaps off the web when activated or after 5 seconds, dealing damage in an area and creating a large area of web where she gains movement speed and slows enemies. Arachne additionally can activate Venomous Bite and Cocoon while in her ultimate, which is her first and second ability, so it is ready as soon as she drops. This ability is often saved an escape, however, and not an initiation. It can be used to chase though if needed. Say if the enemy jumps away from you and you need to catch up to them. It goes down and cooldown as it's leveled up. She gains both CC immunity and is untargetable in her ultimate, and due to the fact that she has no reliable form of escape, is typically a disengage. Okay, let's talk leveling on the abilities. At level 1, you're always going to start the 3, and in just a minute I'll explain why. At level 2, you're going to put a point in the 1. At level 3, you put another point in the 1 for the increased damage and sustain it provides. At level 4, you put a point in the 2, and at level 5, the ultimate. After this, my leveling priority is typically the 1 due to the increased damage, sustain, and lower cooldown that the ability provides. Then the ultimate, then the 3, and then finally the 2. The 2 only increases in attack speed for 3 autos, and stun time goes up for 0.1 seconds every level. That's why you typically level this ability last. The ultimate I typically level second due to the increased lower cooldown and the increased damage. Having this ability on cooldown quicker means you can play more aggressively, you have more room for error and fewer deaths. When I can't level the ultimate, the 3 is typically what I level due to the surprising amount of damage that the spiders provide. which allows for some interesting objective kills that I'm going to mention later in this video. Arachne is different than most characters because of her unique level 1 start potential. The typical start you're seeing on screen right now. As soon as you spawn in the game, you put a point in your 3, buy your items, and immediately leave the base. I have an Excel sheet free to use in the description that has builds for all gods. If you need help with builds or starts, please feel free to use that. After you run by your speed, you're going to drop one web at your speed, and then immediately keep going to your blue buff. You're going to drop the final 2 webs at your blue buff, and then run back to speed buff so you can be there when it spawns. Your solo laner should start blue buff and let the spiders drop it. You and your mid laner start speed, and as soon as your mid laner goes to their wave, you run to the back camps and hog them. If done correctly, you're going to hit level 2 and you can gank the mid laner extremely early. If the mid laner is playing back, playing safe, you can blink on them. If they're playing up, clearing the wave, you can just run at them. This often results in first blood, or at the very minimum, you get control of their red buff, the jungle, you can gank dual lane shortly after, or even go continue farming at your red buff. Another start I've seen some Arachnes do is dropping 2 webs at your speed buff, then running to the enemy red buff and dropping one. Your mid laner drops speed, and you drop and pick up the enemy red buff. Immediately after you get red, you gank mid and then hog your red and then run to your blue for your solo laner. The issue I found with this start is you don't hit level 2 before ganking mid. Your farm rotation is off, and solo lane gets blue buff and the XP off it late. The start may not be as telegraphed, but 4 out of 5 of the times that you gank the mid laner at level 1, they're not going to be able to stop you, so you get pressure or a kill regardless. Arachne's first, second, and ultimate abilities are on instant cast. I keep the 3 on instant cast also, but I'm very comfortable with the ability and the distance it goes. Having this ability on instant cast is up to you, but my opinion is once you get used to it, it feels great. Now let's discuss Arachne's playstyle. She has no real poke damage or range damage. Due to this, she's often a W key champion. She benefits very greatly from Blink to be able to get in range to do damage to her target, without having to sacrifice her ultimate. Her second relic is typically beads. Very rarely do I get anything other than beads as a second relic, and the only other relic I ever consider is Aegis, but these games are few and far between. Now going back to playstyle. Early game, she tries to use her pressure to get kills and still farm from the enemy. As soon as you have enough gold in hand for Golden Blade, you back. On your first back, your goal is to have 1450 gold in hand for a finished Golden Blade, 1 health pot, and 1 ward. If you'd like to know jungle ward spots or how to jungle, please let me know. I'm considering trying to make a video on this if this video does well. As soon as Arachne gets Golden Blade, she is a farming machine. This doesn't mean that she doesn't gank, however, but her farm potential increases tenfold as soon as she picks up this item. The movement speed and passive of the item let you easily run around the map to farm your buffs and the enemy buffs. For Arachne gameplay and better understanding of this, please check out the videos I have on my YouTube channel that I've posted previously. Let's discuss Arachne's farming. Arachne doesn't have great jungle clear. This is why she greatly benefits from Golden Blade. Golden Blade's passive, for those of you who don't know, make your basic attacks do damage in an area around the target you're hitting. It does this at a lesser percentage, but it is excellent for lane clearing and jungle farming. If your 1 is up, pop that and focus on attacking the largest creep in the camp. By the time the biggest creep dies, the smaller ones will most likely be dead or close to dead. This is the most efficient way to farm with Arachne. Let's talk about Arachne's fighting style. As stated earlier, Arachne's 3 can be a great source of initiation on gods that are either immobile or have their movement abilities down. Spiders still track their targets even if they lose vision of the target. In the instance of Merlin, even if he flickers with spiders on them, the spiders will continue to chase and damage him, and the slow works excellently. Arachne is going to typically want to wait until mobility abilities are down on their target before she engages, or if their target is out of position and she can kill them before they can get back in position or can get peeled from their team. After throwing your webs on the target, you're going to want to pop your 1 and your 2 and auto attack them. It is crucial that you land autos on the target you're attempting to kill, since the first 3 auto attacks apply Venomous Bite and Cocoon. The stun off Cocoon is your best form of crowd control to lock down a target, and outside of your slow, it is your only form of crowd control. So often you're going to throw your 3 on a target and then run at them and auto them down with your 1-2 combo. If they're not dead by the time this ends, you can either confirm the kill by continuing to auto, or you may need to reset with your ultimate if you use everything and can't confirm the kill. But just because you reset with the ultimate does not mean you need to disengage. Remember, you're in the air for 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a lot of time in a team fight. If you find an opening to go back in and get a kill, you have the option to. But sometimes the best option is just to disengage and continue farming or returning to base. So we talked about fighting on Arachne, let's talk about ganking. Arachne's lack of mobility means that her ganks are more successful the closer you are to the target before they notice you. It's best to pass high or gank from behind their line of sight. This way they don't see you coming, and by the time they recognize they're in danger, you're already in range to do damage to them. Additionally, remember that your spiders can block abilities. Examples of abilities that can be blocked by spiders are Thanatos Death Scythe, Uller Throne Axe, Sobek Charge Prey, and Osiris Sickle Strike. In the clip playing right now, you can see me blinking on a Chiron and throwing my spiders down. The Sobek attempts to pluck me to peel me off his ADC, but he hits my spiders, which means I kill Chiron. The spiders can also body block autos. This includes abilities that buff autos like Daji Horrible Burns and Alquang Dragon Call. And in my opinion, the use of these spiders is what separates the good from the great on Arachne. Keep in mind that AoE abilities will often kill both spiders and leave you without this protection. Now the style of play we discussed works really great in the early to mid game. As late game starts to roll around and people start to group though, Arachne is a lot less valuable. In team fights she wants to play very similarly to the early to mid game. She wants to find her way to the backline without being seen, assassinate a target, and typically reset with the ultimate, just like I did in the clip on screen now. If contesting a fire giant or maybe a phoenix, it might mean blinking on the backline, doing whatever you can, and then ulting out. Another really cool thing that Arachne can do is set up for objectives. She can put webs on either the Pyromancer or Gold Fury, and as stated before, she can have up to 3 webs at a time. She sets the spiders on either side of the objective that you want to take, but make sure it's not on the objective or it'll pull it and then kill the spiders. After you set up 2 webs, you can come back in a few seconds and place the 3rd web on the target and pull it. If you're with one other damage dealer in the earlier part of the game, then 2 people can kill the objective. It is often best to do this after a successful gank so the objective isn't contested. If you get a few items online, you can most likely do an objective on your own. Let the spiders tank the objective and play around that. One tip I have is vision control. Make sure to buy sentry wards to make sure the enemy doesn't have vision when you do the objective. This way it's not stolen and you aren't caught out. Another tip I can provide is you don't have to place all 3 webs at the same time. For instance, as you're passing through mid lane, put a web on Pyro, then go to blue, place another web. Perhaps do back camps, maybe speed, and then place the final web and pull the objective. Now let's move forth into the build path for Arachne. Arachne is going to want to start with an Assassin's Blessing and a tier 1 katana. Along with this, get 1 health pot and a hog to start. As soon as you can back for Golden Blade, back for it. The biggest mistake I see Arachne players make is building boots. Do not build boots on Arachne, it is not necessary. After you get Golden Blade, you typically want to go into a stone cutting sword for the power, the pin, and the movement speed. The next item I typically get is a serrated edge. Arachne gets great use out of this item since she engages with all of her non-ultimate abilities, effectively gaining the extra basic attack power and lifesteal from the item's passive. Plus, the movement speed and the pin that the item provides is great to have at this point in the game. After this item, I typically go into a kin size because Arachne's auto chain is 0.511 damage and auto speed. This makes her especially good with kins because she auto attacks faster than most gods. Also, it shreds tanks as well as does a good amount of damage to squishier targets. Following kins, I typically pick up an Atlantis bow. Arachne greatly uses the attack speed and the pin off this item, and the attack and movement speed passive of the item feels great after a killer assist. This item maxes out the percent pin available to you between Atlanta's Bone Serrated Edge. Now this is where the build can change a little bit. When you sell Assassin's Blessing, you can get a Toxic Blade if you need anti-heal, and Ike of Vault if you want a little more power and attack speed while reducing the enemy's attack speed. Maybe a Blood Forge is what you're looking for the more power and a health shield after you get a kill. Maybe you need a defense item like Mantle of Discord to help you live a little longer and give you a little bit of peel off the passive when you get to low health. Now, if the game lasts long enough, it is optional to sell Golden Blade for another one of these items, but I don't always sell the item since it is her lane clear. If I'm having trouble clearing lanes or if I have to push out fire waves, I typically just keep the item. Now, if you have builds questions about other guides or you want to see this on paper, feel free to use the Excel sheet that I have in the description. You're welcome to it. Alright folks, that's going to wrap up the How to Arachne guide. I hope this guide was helpful for all those watching it. I really like Arachne. I think she's an easy jungler to get the hang of, and she does a lot for her team for pressure. If you like this guide, please let me know in the comments below. I've never done something like this, and I actually learned to edit videos for this video. I have a couple other ideas of things I'd like to do, but I'd like to get a little feedback first, see how things are going, see if this is something that is well received. If you do like it, please leave me a like, consider subscribing. Feel free to also check me out at twitch.tv/versionsofus. I stream a couple nights a week, and that's typically where I get my content from. I think I'm going to end it on that note. I hope y'all have an excellent day, and we'll see you next time.